Hi, this is Steph with Belladonna Dyes, and today we're going to make a radio wave. For this project, you want to start by centering your shirt using the sleeve inside the other sleeve technique. So I'm using a washable marker to mark out the center. I find the center of the tag and then kind of eyeball the center of the collar. And then I go down to the bottom and I fold up the two corners together and then I mark out the center of that. Then I tuck one sleeve inside the other sleeve and I line up the seams in the underarm, and then I line up the seams along the shoulder. And then I find those little marks that I made and I give them a pinch and a shake, and I lay it down flat on the table, and then I bring the top side over the back side and smooth it all out. Next, decide where you want the center of your pattern to be. And for those of you that have been following along regularly, you know that I don't like to put things too far down because I don't like the way they look when they're centered right on top of the belly button. So I'd say I'm coming down about 2 inches down from the underarm. And then you fold your first side up, and then you bring your other side up so that they meet in the middle, and smooth out your wrinkles as you go. Next, I'm going to use my yardstick to help me make the next fold. So I slide it underneath the project, and then I stand it up and I give it a pinch, and I pull the whole thing straight up off the table, and there I have a nice crisp fold. I just slide the yardstick right out, and then I straighten up all of the wrinkles. Next, I like to clip my project together. That way it holds all the folds together while I'm doing my pleating. Next, using a washable marker, I mark out my pattern. Now, this is not a necessary step, but I highly recommend it because it does help you stay on task. So I start down at the bottom corner and I draw a straight line from the bottom corner all the way up over the shoulder, and then I'm just going to pleat along that line, keeping that line as straight as possible. The shirt that I'm using today is a Kirkland brand shirt, and in my opinion, they are the absolute best shirts. They're thick, they're soft, they don't shrink up, they are a proper size. Like Gildan shirts, they take dye like a champ, but they're like a size too small. They're rough and scratchy. They just feel cheap. But the one thing with this is it's super thick the way it's folded. So as I'm getting up here to the collar area and up over the shoulder where it's all coming together, these last couple pleats are rather difficult, but just stay with it and do the best you can to stay on task. Now that I have it all pleated up the best that I can, I'm going to secure it by using my second favorite rubber bands. They're the perfect size for this project. And down at the tips where it gets more narrow, I'm just going to double the rubber band over. Now with this one, I don't want any white lines created by the rubber bands, so I don't want them to be overly tight. If you don't want to use rubber bands, you could also use kite string. It just really is a matter of preference. And any time that I can use rubber bands over any type of string, I do, just because it's quick and it's easy. Once you have it all secure, the next step is to build yourself some type of an ice barrier. And for this project, I'm using foil. I normally use the silicone cake molds, but I'm doing something a little bit different this time, so I needed it to be taller than the silicone cake molds, so I used foil. So I'm putting down a layer of my nugget ice, and I had been collecting it in one of my ice bags, and I don't want any chunks, so I removed all the big chunks. And now it's time for the fun part. We get to add the dye. So right now, this technique is called dye over ice. It's kind of hard to see, but all along the foil I've put paper clips. Instead of drawing my pattern on, since there's a layer of ice there, I use the paper clips to gauge where I need to place my dye. That might be helpful for some of you. For those of you that have Instagram, I highly recommend that you go over and look at Moon Dipper Tie-Dye. She makes the most gorgeous tapestries. I think she's the most talented ice dyer that I've seen anywhere. Her stuff is gorgeous, and so I was really inspired by her work. She finishes off her tapestries with this pattern, and I want to try a tapestry really soon, but I wanted to practice on a t-shirt first. And then I realized that Mr. Tie-Dye has done a whole bunch of these, and Raya, I think, just did one last week. So this is nothing original, but like I said, I wanted to try it on a t-shirt before I do an expensive tapestry. Now that I have the dye on it the way that I want it, I'm going to add a quick little sprinkle of soda ash for good measure, and I'm going to add a second layer of my nugget ice. And I got my nugget ice maker off of Amazon, and I do have a link for it down below in the description box along with everything else that I use, so go ahead and check it out. And I love my nugget ice maker, but you could use any ice. And then I'm going to let it batch for 48 hours after the ice melts. So enjoy the time lapse. After the second layer of ice melted, I took the tote and I wrapped it up in my electric blanket because I want the most vibrancy as possible. It's really quite cold still here in Oregon. So you want your project to batch at 70 degrees or higher for at least 24 hours, but I choose to go for 48 hours. After 48 hours, the soda ash and the procion dye are no longer reacting, so it's over with. So now it's time for the rinse out, and you want to start by using cold water. You need to rinse away all that soda ash and get it out of the fibers. And then increase your water up to hot and rinse until the water runs basically clear. From here, I take it to the washing machine, and I do however many hot water cycles it takes using Kirillon. And Kirillon is a professional textile detergent that I get from Dharma Trading Company. And it used to be called Synthropol, but that's no longer available. It's now Kirillon. In the second hot water cycle, I scoop up the hot water and I look at it. And if it's pretty much clear, I know that I'm ready for my third and final hot water cycle using Millsoft. And Millsoft is a professional fabric softener that I get from Dharma Trading Company. And I have links for both of those down below in the description box, like I said, with everything else that I use, so make sure you check that out. And then I put it in the dryer and I'll iron it and we'll come back and we'll see the results. Well, here it is, guys. Here's our radio wave ice dye after it's been washed and dried. And I like this shirt a lot, and it turned out exactly like I was hoping that it would. And I'm really happy about the saturation as well. This is a super thick fold with a super thick shirt, and I was worried about inside the folds not having enough saturation. But doing it this method with the ice down, then the dye, and then another layer of ice worked out perfectly. And I do love this color combination. I love purple and yellow together. It's really pretty. I'm glad that instead of doing an actual orange, I did bright yellow because I didn't want it to be overly orange. It looks kind of like a sun ray almost. And another thing that I really like about this shirt is in the center of it, it has like circles as well. So you've got the rays coming off, and then it's like with each pleat you see sort of a circle. I don't know if you guys can see that, like an actual radio wave. So I can understand why this shirt got this name. And look, I'm not being original with this. I'm sure probably everybody on YouTube has made one. I didn't realize that. It's a very super duper easy fold to do with a very dynamic result. So I highly recommend that all of you guys try, and I would love to see your results in the Facebook group. So what do you guys think of this shirt? Please leave me some comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel, leave a thumbs up, and click the bell and set it to all. That way you get notified of future uploads. And remember, have fun tie-dyeing.